Funny about that. You know who was asking about you the other day? Who's that? Nobody.
We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby? Yeah.
What it do, you number one podcast listeners? We are back yet again with a brand new edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I'm your host, Premal. I'm joined once again by my big bro, my big cousin, Roshan Bhatt. Welcome back to the podcast.
What's up?
You hit me up and you said we gotta jump on an episode.
Yes, sir.
Because,
yep.
You know, I felt like the basketball world heard you. And
they sure did.
Here we are.
I feel like I manifested what happened, and I feel like this was I think the universe was like, you took way too long in between your episodes, so we're going to make it the shortest ever time between your episodes. Right after it was the longest time between episodes.
Yeah. Even in my prime pre-kids era, I wasn't churning out episodes this quick, but
yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures.
The most shocking trade in NBA history, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say that, calls for
I don't either. Yeah,
a new episode of Prem Brulee. And here we are, here for you number one podcast listeners. So you know the drill. Without further ado, let's get started on Yeah Fam or Nah, and we're gonna kick it off with the whole reason why we're even having this episode.
For sure.
Luka Doncic was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Can't believe I was even saying the first part of that sentence.
Right.
But Luka Doncic is now a Laker. The news broke. Shams Charania of ESPN broke the news late at night that the Lakers traded for Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. They traded away Anthony Davis and Max Christie and their 2029 first-round pick. They brought in a third team, which was the Utah Jazz. The Jazz got Jalen Hood-Schifino, a Clippers second-round pick in this upcoming draft, and a Mavs second-round pick in this upcoming draft, just to complete the numbers of this trade.
Yeah.
Just to paint the full picture of reports that have happened since, we're obviously going to dive into all of these. But before I get your take, Roche, and I deliver mine, the reports following the trade were that the Mavs had concerns with Luka's conditioning. Luka's currently has like a nagging injury. I think it's a soft tissue injury that it's a calf injury.
It's a calf strain, yeah.
That he's been dealing with. The Mavs general manager, Nico Harrison, we're going to talk about him a lot. Newsflash, number one podcast listeners, not to spoil anything. But in a statement initially after that news broke, he released the following statement through the press. I believe that defense wins championships. I believe that getting an all-defensive center and an all-NBA player with a defensive mindset gives us a better chance. We're built to win now and in the future. End quote. Shams also said the following. I think he made an appearance on SportsCenter and said that the deal materialized in the shadows. LeBron James had no idea this was coming. Anthony Davis had no idea this was coming. I'm told Luka Doncic. Shams was told Luka Doncic was stunned about the trade. I think since then, Anthony Davis said he was like about to watch a movie with his wife. He had texted his teammates about a win that they had in New York, and then took a call that he was traded. Yeah, so that pretty much fills in the background. We're going to talk about a lot more facets of this trade as we kind of dive into our takes on it. So, Roche, I'll go first and I'll get your take, and you can respond to what I say too.
Yeah.
I, like everybody else, am utterly shocked at this. I cannot believe that Luka Doncic was made available for trade. I had this kind of initial thought that I think that any team would trade any of their players for Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
The first name that came to mind that would be the exception would be Victor Wembanyama. And then if you dive a little deeper, I think maybe the Wolves say no to Anthony Edwards. Maybe the Celtics say no to Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Maybe the Bucks say no to Giannis. But here's the reason why I say a lot of these players would be available. Luka Doncic is 25 years old.
Yeah.
He's been a perennial MVP contender. He's been All-NBA before. He just took his team to the finals and is only 25. The idea that you could get a franchise cornerstone and essentially reset
his
Father
entire
Time's
career
clock is unheard of. It's truly the Lakers get worse in the short term.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot to work out with two ball-dominant star players in LeBron and Luka. But Luka is coming from a team where he made it work with Kyrie, who's the same way. Also, LeBron is the greatest ever, and he's worked with every type of star player and made it work.
Everyone they said that he couldn't. He's made it work somehow.
He's made it work. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, the Lakers got worse in the short term. They got a franchise cornerstone who is 6 years younger than the one they were counting on before in Anthony Davis. Nothing against him. He can't help how old he is, but they got someone younger. Mavs seemingly got better in the short term, but if we're thinking about it, I just mentioned it. Technically, what is better? They literally made the NBA Finals last season, so the only improvement they could possibly have is winning it all, and they almost need to. After their GM let arguably the best young player in this league get traded, they let him out the door. They've released things about concerns with his conditioning and availability, yet we're forgetting who they just traded for. Anthony Davis, who just 2 years ago we were calling Tony for never being available. Rosh, you hit us with the best, I think, nickname. What was your nickname for Anthony?
Anthony Data Davis.
Yeah. So how soon we forget that narrative. Yes, he had a great season last year. He's been having a great season this year. But how soon we forget durability concerns. And I'll put it this way. I think Luka's teammate Markieff Morris, who's part of this trade, he goes back to the Lakers. He was on their team when they won their latest title. He said, I don't know what conditioning you need when you have a guy that can get 30, 10, and 5 a night. I think he's doing just fucking fine with his conditioning. Sure, everybody can be in better shape. You need better habits, but what are we talking about here? What the fuck are we talking about? Conditioning and all this stuff. And then they had other rumors that they were maybe not confident that Luka would sign his Supermax he was eligible this summer. He since said in his introductory press conference in the Lakers that was absolutely not true. I think Brian Windhorst reported the same. There's no world where someone doesn't take the most lucrative contract that you can sign for the longest amount in that situation. There's no way Luka would turn that down. So that's ridiculous. The conditioning to me is all secondary because he has been a true talent. It's not as if he's Zion Williamson who hasn't been available for seasons at a time. He's had the nagging injury here and there, but he's never played fewer than 61 games in his career. So technically availability isn't his concern. You have now two players on your roster, two best players in Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, who have had those concerns in the past. So what the fuck are we talking about here? I don't get this from the Mavs point of view. A absolute home run for the Lakers. Whether they're better or not in the short term is besides the point. They got a franchise cornerstone who it may not have even reached his prime. He's only 25 years old, about to turn 26. They got someone that can carry their franchise for years to come at 6 years younger than the person they were seemingly going to count on once LeBron retired and Anthony Davis. They get one way younger. Absolute home run. I truly can't emphasize enough how shocking of a move this is. All time in the NBA, this is in the top 3 out of the trades that have ever happened in NBA history. This is number 1. I mean, you're talking the shocking level of this trade being the level when LeBron left Cleveland for Miami. That level. I mean, that's pretty much it. You could probably find some others that fit the shocking level up there, but as far as trades go, you won't find another that's this shocking in NBA history, I think. Rush, what you got?
Man, I got a lot. I think like I'm going to touch on some of your points too, because I think like you brought up a lot of good points. And one of the things is like when you were talking about who in the landscape of the NBA, if you're looking at all the stars and you're looking at all the teams and the situations, who would you actually let go from your team for Luka? And I think max, there's like 5 people. I think a couple of names that you might not have mentioned at this time. Did you say you did say Giannis? I think Giannis, like just total package wise, and the position he plays makes him a little unexpendable. But SGA would be another one right now, and Wemby for sure. But like even to me, Tatum, if the Dallas Mavericks are calling Boston and they're like, "Hey, we'll give you Luka for Tatum," I don't think Boston flinches. I think they make that trade in a second. I don't see any world where I'm picking Jason Tatum before Luka. Jason Tatum is often a guy who probably can get away with scoring 12 in a game that matters a lot, and the Celtics are good enough for them to pick him up. So I think situationally, you're thinking, maybe not, but I would, if I'm GM of Boston, I'm sending Tatum over for Luka. I just think it's insane that he was made available, and what was going through Mavs GM Nico Harrison's mind when it feels like a fever dream. Like he was having a manic episode, and he's just like, there's a personal vendetta against Luka, and he just is like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna call the first person I see, and whatever they give me is what I'm gonna take. Because I mean, the news dropped at like 11 at night on, was it Friday or Saturday night?
I think it might have been Saturday.
Right. And I remember I was on Twitter, just, my casual weekend doom scroll, and I see my entire feed start blowing up, and I'm like, is this a fucking joke? I remember I texted our group chat. I texted like my 2 friends that love basketball, and one of them is a huge Mavs fan. And I remember being like, there's no way this is real. When the entire
it's a great point.
NBA, like, I don't know, like the landscape and the fans and even like players think Shams got hacked, this trade is fucked up. There's no way around it. Like, if your first thought is when you send it to someone who thinks sports and they're like, oh, he's got to be hacked, the trade is a fleece. And it's just like, for one, why would you trade Luka? He's everything you want in today's NBA. He's everything you want as a franchise superstar. He's extremely young. He's a generational talent. He's global, and at this point, like, you're gonna sell tickets just for him being international. He didn't go to college. He didn't do any of that. He came over as a 19-year-old prodigy, and it's just like, and why would you trade for a 31? And I know that quote you mentioned Nico Harrison give, out of like, with no context, that's a great quote. Everything he's saying is true. Defense does win championships. Getting an all defensive center and an all NBA player with a defensive mindset gives you a better chance, and he can drop 30. However, you don't give up Luka Doncic to do that. I think even if you're making a trade, why wouldn't you even attempt to like give Kyrie away for AD Davis? I think most people would make that trade. I think that's a relatively even trade. LeBron's always wanted to play again with Kyrie. Kyrie has been on the record to be like, I fucked up. I should have stayed with Bron. Yeah. I mean, it's a feel-good story. It makes the Mavs infinitely better. And you don't lose. You don't burn a franchise down. You don't burn your fan base down. I mean, the crash outs were insane. Like, they were bringing caskets outside. They were spray painting. Like, and he deserves it. Like, there's no like justification to doing a move that way. It's just like, and then he's in his press conferences being like, I don't know if I'll be here in 10 years. It's like, dude, do you hear yourself? Yeah. Like, what kind of fucking shit are we talking here?
Didn't even give Mavs fans a second, and he's trying to make like dry ass jokes that don't deliver next to his head coach that was not aware of the trade either, and looks miserable being up there too.
Yeah, and it's like, he didn't even demand a trade. They said stuff like, we weren't sure if he was going to sign the Supermax. Buddy was building a $15 million mansion as we speak. Yep. Like, he's closed on a $15 million mansion in the Dallas area. He had no plans to leave. No. There was nothing like they can play all the PR angles they want. There's no way they look like a good franchise with this. And I know we joke about like ditching our teams and this and that. This is the kind of back-breaking move that I wouldn't even hesitate to be like, fuck this team.
Yeah.
Like if I was a Mavs fan, there's nothing that would be like, I'm rooting for this team again. There's nothing.
Mavs fans,
I couldn't do it.
We're giving you a free pass.
Free pass.
Yeah.
Any team, even if you want a front run, I give you a pass for the next 2 years to jump ship.
Yeah.
That's like fucking insane what happened to you guys. And, like I saw a lot of rumblings, and you have to really think, like, did the NBA make this call? I know we talked about it, and it's just like, I think you brought up, like, LeBron's retiring in 2 years, and Lakers needed a new face. Tony Davis was the guy that they were, planning to put some pins into and build around. And but I don't think Anthony Davis is going to fill seats. I don't think they're going to sell tickets and get viewers. And considering their market share, you need a global superstar. I mean, they went from, Kobe to LeBron, and they needed someone else. Luka's perfect for that. And now we got to ask, is LeBron going to even stay? Like, will they shop him? Will he wait? I mean, he has a player option at the end of this year. Even if he stays to the end of this year, what's stopping him from opting out, signing with Dallas? Like, that's a way better situation. The Lakers are kind of dog shit right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it. They did not get better.
No.
They have two ball dominant guys. No one when they have to inevitably play the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic is going to average 75 points a game.
Yeah.
Jackson Hayes will be barbecue chicken.
Yeah, they have. I think the reports are that they're trying to get another big man because they desperately need one. But you don't.
Yeah.
You don't turn down this offer.
Yeah, you can't. And you're right. They did make a move. Like, you essentially, if he's 25 years old, you're counting on him at least being good until he's 35. That's 10 years of whatever comes with a global superstar. And anyone's going to do that.
Absolutely.
I do have a few tweets that I found along the way that I want to talk about that I thought were just so funny. And I'm going to highlight three of my favorite tweets.
All right.
The first tweet is from Twitter user Big T44DFS. And it says, quote, imagine a phone call, Mavs, we want AD, and the Lakers say, oh, he's not available. And the Mavs reply with, for Luka. And the Lakers respond, AD will be there in the morning. And it's just like, what does the call sound like? What do you think Rob Pelinka was doing when he got this call? Like, he had to be like, is this guy fucking with me? Is this even Nico Harrison?
Yeah.
And you're like, you mean AD is all it's going to take?
They kept it secret, too, apparently, was how
they didn't have to give up Reeves. They didn't have to give up anybody.
Yeah.
AD. I mean, and then a tweet from my second one is
worth noting.
Yeah.
The Lakers have another first-round pick that's eligible to be traded.
Right.
The Mavs didn't even get that one also. So
why wouldn't you just add that in? We need the other pick, too.
I think I saw a report that the Lakers did involve initially Dalton Connect, but Pelinka said something like, because we're keeping it a secret or he found some way around it because they were just working together and they didn't want the news to leak or something. So I think he got the ability to lowball Harrison, which again, I still don't understand what they were even talking for, because at no point should you be shopping one of the best players in the league who's 25 years old. But anyway, continue.
Without pillaging the entire Lakers roster, you shouldn't have even done it. You go back and you look at the Clippers SGA Paul George trade.
Yep.
That's what kind of return you needed. You know what I mean? All right. So my second tweet is from Twitter user at Blogging the Boys. They tweet about a team that no one on this podcast follows.
Never heard of them.
A team that really doesn't exist. Quote, Jerry Jones is officially now the second worst general manager in the DFW area.
Wow.
And I was like, it takes real talent, bro. That takes talent to be worse than your neighbor.
That's real talent.
No further context needed on that one. And my last one, it wasn't a specific tweet, but I follow Underdog NBA. It's like a fantasy betting app or whatever, and they keep you updated with who's playing, who's not. Within 30 minutes of all these tweets happened, and they basically were like Zion Williamson, Torian Prince, Gary Trent Jr., Brooke Lopez, Chris Middleton, Damian Lillard, Giannis. All these players were all available to play. They're just like out there saying all these guys are available to play right now. And this was like within 6 hours of the Luka trade, and you just gotta laugh at that. It's like everyone saw that they traded Luka, and everyone's like, "Fuck, we gotta get back to work." You know, it's like when we're at home and like us normies are just working corporate jobs and we're like jiggling the mouse to make sure the Slack status is still green. Everyone's like, "Oh fuck, I better start playing," or they're gonna shit my ass off. But yeah, that's my little tweet roundup there. Yeah.
If Luka can get traded, you bet your ass all you scrubs can.
All these bums are like, oh fuck, I better no load managing here.
All right, number one podcast listeners, from Luka Magic to Magic Mind, baby. We've been emphasized.
What a transition.
Thank you, number one.
What a transition.
Number one podcast listeners, I've talked about this before. With health becoming a priority, thanks to a genetic history calling for it, and even more so on my quest to maximize my physical and mental health for my wife and kids in addition to myself, I wanted to align what I practice, which was eating right, exercising, with the right tools to help me supplement things. In walks in Magic Mind. You number one podcast listeners know I've been talking about it for months. They came at the right time. It aligned with everything I was looking to do and improve. And Magic Mind helps supplement all those healthy lifestyle choices. Number one podcast listeners, again, you know, the proof is in the pudding. It's in the fact that I use it myself. I have close family and friends that use it. You know, I wouldn't recommend it to you number one podcast listeners if I didn't believe in it. So you can trust that I wouldn't co-sign this if I wasn't for it. Whether you're trying to change up your whole lifestyle or just maybe replace an energy drink with something cleaner, incorporate some more clean ingredients into your life, Magic Mind's for you. It doesn't need to be a drastic change. It can be just something you add to the fold. With its clean ingredients, with everything scientifically backed and researched, you can feel good about what you put in your body with Magic Mind's performance shots. I've been using them for months, and I've noticed quite a difference in my ability to focus on whatever I'm doing, whether that's work, whether that's playing with my kids. So, number one podcast listeners, you know I got to take care of y'all. I got to come correct, as I always do. With the link and code, also in the episode description, you can get 20% off a one-time purchase or 48% off subscriptions by going to magicmind.com/prem. It's a new link, number one podcast listeners. magicmind.com/PREM. That's the first part of the title of this podcast you're tuning into. And when prompted, enter the code PREM20. That's PREM, the number 2, the number 0. Go to magicmind.com/prem and enter the code PREM20. Now, if I were you, I'd get the subscription. It's the better value. It ships free to your doorstep every month, so you can stash your new pack in the fridge like I do. You can take it on the go in the morning like I do, or use it as an afternoon pick-me-up. It's ready to go. You don't even have to think twice about running out if you're on the subscription. There's nothing to lose. Magic Mind has a money-back guarantee and easy cancellation if you choose to go a different route, though I don't think you will, because it's a tremendous product. I swear by it. Roche swears by it. Family swears by it. So give it a try if you haven't already. Go to magicmind.com/prem. New link. It's in the episode description. You can't miss it. And enter the code PREM20, one word, and you'll get up to 48% off. Get that subscription. Don't play yourself.
I hear one of the other positive effects is like you can go to bed and a whole city doesn't hate you, and a whole city doesn't like chant to fire you.
Yeah.
So Nico Harrison, I believe you really need to visit this link.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't do anything catastrophic to jeopardize your city, your fan base, and, you know, your job, actually.
Maybe you should have been taking those sooner, sooner than
for sure.
Saturday.
You fucked up, buddy.
Yeah.
You fucked up, buddy.
But for the rest of you number one podcast listeners, it's definitely not too late.
Yes,
Don't pull a Nico Harrison and play yourself. Get that Magic Mind. Number one podcast listeners. speaking of moves that we've been talking about, this one is a little bit more understandable and more on par with other trades. But I did want to briefly talk about De'Aaron Fox getting traded to the San Antonio Spurs. He had previously requested a trade. He had been with the Sacramento Kings his entire career so far. He is now paired with Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. The Spurs got De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings, this was a three-team trade, by the way, with the Kings and the Bulls. The Kings received Zach LaVine, Sidi Sissoko, 3 first-round picks in 2025, 2027, and 2031. The Kings also received 3 second-round picks. The Chicago Bulls got Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and Kevin Huerter. They're in their own pick back from the Spurs. So definitely the majority of the picks and most notably Zach LaVine are on the Kings. The Bulls got 3 key role players that have been really good for their respective previous teams to fill out their roster. And then the main piece of this is De'Aaron Fox moving from Sacramento to San Antonio. I was initially curious why the Kings would end up with LaVine because DeRozan and LaVine already didn't work in Chicago.
Right.
I didn't get that move, but clearly it seems like this move was mainly for all the picks they got, and that is quite a haul. If you're keeping track, that is more picks than the Mavs got back for Luka Doncic.
Look,
and
I stay petty, so I don't have
last
to
I
get petty.
checked, 10 out of 10 NBA experts would consider Luka Doncic better than De'Aaron Fox. So just to apples it. But aside from that, I think the main piece of this is De'Aaron Fox, and I think it's going to be a really fun combo with him and Wemby. So really fun duo in San Antonio, especially that gets to be coached by Greg Popovich. So
for sure,
interested to see
a lot
how
of
that
pick and
works out.
roll, a lot of pick and pop.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty exciting. If you're a San Antonio Spurs fan, that's great pickup.
Yep, and they got great young pieces. I know we joked about him because he's in the dunk contest last episode, which a teaser for a little later. We'll talk a little bit about what originally came from that You Played Yourself last episode, but
right.
Castle, they kept him and a whole bunch of nice role players too around him. So
and for the record, you number one podcast listeners, I did go and Google what teams they were on, so before you come at me.
Yeah.
I did my due diligence, but for the bit I had to make sure I didn't know. You
had
know?
to commit to it.
Yeah. NBA trade deadline, I feel like never disappoints. It's probably the best
already
trade
hasn't.
deadline. And so, yeah, I mean, you take the Mavs deal out of this, and it's still probably going to be pretty great. And the sad thing is, no matter what picks get thrown around, like Nico Harrison's name is going to come up probably 500 times this week.
Yep.
And he deserves the barbecue. Like, he deserves it. Real quick hypothetical before we move on to You Played Yourself. It kind of ties into You Played Yourself. What are we gonna do if? I mean, I know this is a long shot, but what do we do if the Warriors trade for LeBron and LeBron is on, the Golden Snake Warriors, the Snakes of Oakland? We got to drop it, right? That's what we do.
We will drop it. Yeah, anything for the GOAT. LeBron
Yes, sir.
James. Yeah.
Anything for my goat. Anything for my Pookie Bear.
Yeah, our
I'll be a Golden State fan. I'll buy a jersey and everything from DH Gate, of course.
away, baby. There we are.
All right, glad to see we're on the same page. Number one podcast listeners, don't be pulling no receipts about the Snakes of Oakland. I'll just pretend I was never on this podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
You know how we do, number one podcast listeners. We throw out hot takes and we don't have to answer for them all.
Nope.
Don't come for us. We'll call ourselves out. That's a nice segue into later and You Played Yourself. But let's, without further ado, we've hinted at it. Let's hit that intro.
I'm petty as hell. And I'm super petty.
Here we
Petty Le Pew.
go.
All right, number one podcast listeners. We didn't want to keep you waiting. You already know who's first up on You Played Yourself.
Yeah.
We've mentioned him by name a lot. The Dallas Mavericks general manager, Nico Harrison. You said this earlier, but Nico Harrison's first up on You Played Yourself might be an all-timer. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer because he's not going to be making moves that long, I think, if this doesn't work out well for him. But Imagine deciding to make a move and everyone's first thought was that Shams got hacked.
Yeah.
Just imagine that everybody's first reaction is like, no, there's no way they did that. This man...
He himself thought his phone was hacked.
Yeah.
He said it he's like, I thought someone was playing a prank on me.
Unbelievable.
The NBA's #1 reporter was like, I thought this was a joke.
Yeah. Because
That's fucked up.
at no point did anybody think this was possible.
Right.
This man, Nico Harrison, only called the Lakers. He confirmed that. He called nobody else. He didn't field offers. He didn't try to get the best offer out of it. Harrison also confirmed that the Mavs owner, who he reports to, it's a new owner, worth noting, that isn't super basketball heavy. It's just the pocketbooks. The Mavs owner initially laughed at him. I said this earlier, but head coach Jason Kidd had no idea about the trade, just like everybody else besides Rob Pelinka and Harrison himself. We talked about this, but I wanted to put a number on just how much this is. Doncic would have been eligible for a 5-year, $345 million Supermax deal with Dallas this summer.
Damn.
Do you think someone would turn that down, guys? Just for you.
On what planet?
On what planet?
You played
Especially
yourself.
knowing the context that you can't get higher than this contract. So there would be no upside of turning that down. It doesn't even make remote sense. They played Luka because with the trade, Doncic is no longer eligible for the Supermax. So that part sucks for him. Obviously, we're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, so he's going to be just fine. But
Yeah.
it may impact what length deal he would sign with the Lakers, I would think. I think that's what Brian Windhorst was reporting. Like,
Right.
it's not a given he would sign a 5-year deal. Maybe because the Supermax is no longer on the table, he waits and signs a
Right.
shorter deal. Nico Harrison said the following: we really feel like we got ahead of what was going to be a tumultuous summer, him being eligible for the Supermax and also a year away from him being able to opt out of any contract. You said this earlier, but Luka reportedly had just bought a $15 million house in Dallas. So if he was going somewhere, that would be a really stupid investment.
Yeah.
This was from former NBA player who now has his own show / podcast, Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons texted Mark Cuban. This is directly from him. Chandler said that he texted Mark Cuban, "I'm so confused." And that Mark Cuban wrote back, "That makes 2 of us."
Fantastic.
Yeah. This was per CBS Sports' Jasmine Wimbush. The Mavericks were so scared to lose Doncic down the line that he was out of shape and that he's a liability on defense. Never mind the fact that he just took Dallas to the NBA Finals 8 months ago because of his offensive brilliance that bailed them out on more than one occasion, or that he's a 5-time All-Star, has finished in the top 5 of MVP voting 3 times, and has more All-NBA first-team selections, 5, than Stephen Curry has.
Incredible.
Even out of shape and a black hole on defense, Doncic is still a once-in-a-generation player. Could not have put it better myself. You could tell me all these reasons, but his offensive brilliance speaks for itself. And he really did bail out the Mavs because you number one podcast listeners probably remember they had Kyrie on their team, but Kyrie was ebbing and flowing in the playoffs with offensive production. He was great on defense. I don't mean to disparage that, but a lot of games it was kind of Doncic on his own carrying that team. I also saw this. To continue this, you played yourself.
Well, we got a lot to continue this. You played yourself.
Yeah.
Even like that. Did you see the Mark Cuban quote that resurfaced about like what he was saying when he was an owner?
Yeah.
It was like I think it was like in 2020, and he was like, if I had to choose between my wife and keeping Luka on the Mavs, I'll be at my lawyer's office prepping for a divorce. Like, what an insane statement by a billionaire. But how do you ignore something like that? Because like, it's just fucking stupid. Like, his wife's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, now she's got to hear that again. Now, it's weird to think that Mark Cuban sold part of his stake in the team. He's still involved in the organization, but he would have been able to veto that trade if he was still the boss.
For sure. And there's no way he would have let that happen.
We would have heard
I don't think there's a single,
we would have heard about Nico Harrison getting traded. It's like, what
traded
kind of
to
a
the
stupid
Guangdong
idea?
to the Guangdong Tigers.
Guangdong Tigers.
I saw this. The Brooklyn Nets turned 34-year-old King Snake Kevin Durant into the following: 9 first-round picks, 2 first-round pick swaps,
Unreal.
4 second-round picks.
Good grief.
Compared to the Dallas Mavericks, who turned 25-year-old Luka Doncic into Anthony Davis, Max Christie, a 2029 Lakers first-round pick. That is truly unfathomable.
That
Truly.
first isn't even for 3 years. Every time I read that list, I'm like, what is happening here? How is this possible?
Rush, take it away.
I have to say, like, I let a lot of the other stuff fly, but I just want to turn a corner a little bit and just give a you played yourself to myself. If we rewind to last week's episode, I remember a certain someone saying the NBA is really fucking boring this year. Is it me or does the NBA fucking suck?
Congratulations.
Boy, was I wrong. The NBA told me, hey, hold my beer, buddy. It did not age well. That was, I think it was like 2 days after we released the episode. And as if the Mavs week couldn't get any worse, I wanted to draw attention. I think all this happened today too. And it's like every day we're seeing more and more things that I was like, I think that's what caused me to even push you to do this episode is like, I was like, there's so much content coming out right now. It would be crazy for us to ignore it. Mm-hmm. But the Mavs social media had posted about Anthony Davis on their socials, and they put out like Anthony Davis's incredible resume, and credit to Anthony Davis. We saw that other tweet that was like he's getting treated like Hassan Whiteside in this trade, and he's a great player, decorated first teams, all defensive players of the year, et cetera, but when they had posted his resume, they had him listed as a 9 times All-Star, and AD himself had to chime in on the comments, and he just wrote 10 times All-Star with an asterisk. And it's like, dude, you couldn't even get this shit right. Like not only that, but then there was like another Twitter user that I saw today, and it was like @_Abigail, and I think Abigail had like 4 eyes. And it's like the Mavs were refunding season ticket holders who canceled their season tickets this week. And it's like, how does this man have a job? This is such a tough scene. No way that you twist this makes him look remotely smart or remotely competent. And this is the last job he's ever going to have in the NBA. I can pretty much bet my life savings on it. I don't think a single person will ever hire him to have a meaningful front office job ever again after this. Once he gets fired, which will probably be at the end of this year, when the Mavericks don't win a championship, he's fucking cooked. So ultimate, you played yourself. I had to throw one into myself, but I'm bringing it back to Nico because I did not fuck up worse than Nico Harrison.
Well, one could argue you gave us entertainment, so you played yourself, led to all this.
Yeah, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have had this.
Yeah, exactly. We're not above that.
You're welcome, everybody, actually. You're welcome, Lakers. Also, you got Luka because of me.
Yeah, exactly.
You too, LeBron. You're welcome too, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy alert.
You're welcome. Luka Magic.
Luka Magic, baby.
Hook up Prem Brulee, #1 podcast with some courtside seats.
Hell yeah. We did this for you. Couldn't have done it without us. Yeah, Anthony Davis he was legitimately just a few weeks ago with Shams talking about that the Lakers need a true center so that he can move back to his preferred position as power forward. Yeah. He's going to get to do that in Dallas. Great for his production. He's a great player. Right. It is true. How good is Luka that you said that tweet, like we're treating Anthony Davis like Hassan Whiteside. I mean, he is going to thrive.
It made me feel bad for a second. It made me feel bad. I was like, damn, that's true. I was like, we have been shitting on AD a little too hard.
I mean, he's had arguably he's had a lot of good seasons, but this past season might have been his best.
Right, for sure.
He truly was great, but he's gonna be in a great situation with Kyrie there. He's with his former coach when they won a title in the bubble.
That's right. You're right.
They're going to be great defensively because they, like I said, they already have really good defensive pieces, and Anthony Davis himself is really good at it. But there is an angle to this that is concerning, and that is the offensive side of the ball, because they have pieces and they have size, but if Kyrie's not creating for them, where's the offense getting started from? So I'm interested to see how that works. Obviously, defense can solve a lot of things. I mean, they'll be quite formidable on that end of the floor, but interested to see how this fits. on both ends of the floor.
I mean, you're talking about getting rid of a guy like who could make quite literally any pass on the basketball court.
Yeah.
Any pass imaginable, Luka could make that. Kyrie, while he's great, ball handles, all that good stuff, great at finishing, he's not the passer Luka is. He never has been. And they're going to be asking him a lot. He's going to have to be playing like a real point guard who dishes the ball. And we'll see if he has this in him. I've seen him make some great passes. He's very flashy. I think him and AD are going to make a great duo, really exciting duo when they're healthy. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think they're any lower than a 4 seed of strength in the West, considering how it is. I definitely agree with the fact that they did stay strong. I wouldn't say they got stronger.
Yeah.
I think they're giving up a lot of offense for a lot of defense. So I think it's a push at the end of the day. Kyrie's just going to have to turn into Cleveland Kyrie and shoot 30 fucking shots a game.
One last you played yourself in the NBA world before we quickly touch on football. You played yourself to Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
we
for
somehow
sure.
got a Luka Doncic trade out of nowhere before this man got traded from the Miami Heat, who's been calling for it for about a month now.
Yep.
Yeah, so you played yourself goes to him and the Miami Heat and Pat Riley. So now, obviously, Jimmy Butler and the Heat still get a you played yourself, but they finally did get the deal done to move Jimmy Butler out of Miami, ending a tumultuous run. Jimmy Butler, per ESPN Shams Charania, has been traded to the Golden State Warriors as part of a multi-team deal. The deal sends Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors send away Andrew Wiggins and Kyle Anderson, plus a top 10 protected 2025 first-round pick to the Heat. Also, the Warriors trade away Dennis Schroeder, who was just acquired by the Warriors in December. He'll go to the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz, who just acquired him, will send forward P.J. Tucker to Miami. Guard Lindy Waters, the third, will go from Golden State to the Detroit Pistons. And Josh Richardson will also go to the Detroit Pistons from the Miami Heat. So 5 total teams. The biggest pieces are Jimmy Butler is now a Golden State Warrior with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, the WOT. Andrew Wiggins and Kyle Anderson are now on the Miami Heat, along with a first-round pick in 2025. And Dennis Schroeder, in a few months, went from Brooklyn to Golden State to now Utah. Still, you played yourself because Luka Doncic did get traded before him, but it finally did happen, number one podcast listeners. I did want to cover a couple quick hitters in the NFL. You played yourself goes to the Cleveland Browns. Their star player, Myles Garrett, officially requested a trade. The Browns had previously stated that, and I don't know whether that'll still be the case, but they'd previously stated that they're unwilling to trade him. If that still remains the case, it's going to be a messy offseason. In addition to them being in the news already for their quarterback they overpaid for tearing his Achilles after already doing it during the season. Mm-hmm. We don't need to name that quarterback by name. He doesn't deserve it. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Also worth noting, by the way, let me button this up. I heard this point and I thought it was a good one. Why, as the Cleveland Browns, would you be so hesitant to trade Myles Garrett? You could get a huge haul for him. Your team's nowhere near winning, nowhere near ready to win, and you get a free out because he's the one that requested the trade.
Right. I thought that was the most puzzling thing about this whole thing. Yeah. I was like, I would immediately get on the phone and start shopping. Yeah. I'm like, you know how many contenders would give you 2 firsts probably for Garrett? Like, come on.
I assume
get
that'll be
Buffalo
the
on the
starting
line.
point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get Buffalo on the line and fleece the fuck out of them.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to get a haul for Garrett and really usher in a rebuild, because they have no business having him on a roster that isn't worth his time.
Yeah, and paying him what he's getting paid. Like, and go into full rebuild. And they lost a lot of picks with the QB trade they made. So this will kind of stock that a little bit. And I think it's in their best interest to do that.
I just don't get this notion of teams. I get you're an organization, you have to function, but I don't get the notion of, like, being difficult, because do you think you're going to attract players in the future that want to come play for you if you treat them that way?
Right.
no one's going to want to come there. So I just think it's bad business to do it that way. If you can get a haul for him, he can go for a contender. No hard feelings. We'll retire your jersey one day. We'll see you then. We all win. You gave us an out because not like we traded our best player for no reason. He wanted out. So I don't get it. Anyway, the other thing worth noting, Cooper Kupp stated that the Los Angeles Rams are shopping him. They're planning to trade him this offseason, so it'll be worth keeping an eye out where he goes. His production he was, I think, Offensive Player of the Year a couple years ago, won the Triple Crown. It's dipped a little. Part of that is they have Puka Nacua.
Injuries. Yeah, his injuries too.
And age, father time, injuries, all that stuff. So interested to see where he lands. I think he probably still has a lot of good football, so I'm sure teams would be willing to invest in him for the right price. So we'll see where he ends up.
Yeah, nothing better than a player scorned getting traded when he doesn't want to with a chip on his shoulder.
Yep.
You know, you usually get some good production out of people like that. Look at Saquon, man. The Giants didn't want to pay him. He's like, all right, bet.
Let's do it.
Yeah, here your football team was interested in, or he would be a good trade target rather for your football team.
Well, never heard of him.
We'll see.
Yeah. Doubt it. When you think
it makes too much sense.
It makes too much sense. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
I can see it now. We like our guys.
Shit. Myles Garrett is from Arlington.
Yep.
He makes sense too.
Yep, never happening. I don't even get my hopes up. But you got any rush for us? You played yourself?
In honor of the Super Bowl, I mean, let's reel it back in a little bit. I have one more you played yourself, but this one is a reverse you played yourself. A reverse you played yourself goes out to the reporter who was on media day at the Super Bowl. After some research, I found it was Instagram user at @HeyRichHey. Somehow he got onto Media Row and asked like all kinds of ridiculous questions. He asked Pat Mahomes.
Patrick, for your whole career, you have had so many great people help you win. So who is your favorite ref?
That's hilarious. All the refs are great, man. All the refs are great. They do the best they can. We go out there and play the game the right way.
Is there one that you give a Christmas card to every year, possibly?
Not that I can remember. I'll have to talk to some of my teammates and we can try to figure it out.
Mahomes, credit to him, he's very well PR trained. He laughed it off and he's like, they all do a great job. And I was like, dude, this is so fucking funny. It just got my ass, man. I know it's obnoxious and I know like people, I'm sure Chiefs fans are probably so butthurt about it. Yeah. But you know, we like it petty around here and you know, we gotta love that petty energy.
Petty alert. Petty alert.
And
petty
bonus
alert.
points to the same guy. He got to Travis Kelce and asked him,
Travis, what do you love more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard roughing the passer penalties in the playoffs?
That's a good question. Anybody else?
Travis was not fucking having it. He was just like, next question. And I think he had like the word sports on his microphone, which I thought was hilarious. I'm sure this is going to be the last time he's at Media Row, but it was a sacrifice worth making. So thank you for your service, Hey Rich Hey. We had plenty of laughs on that one today.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. Shout out Hey Rich Hey.
Yeah.
Petty alert approved, baby.
Yeah,
Petty
I would have
alert.
done the
Petty
same
alert.
thing, buddy.
Petty alert.
All right, Rush, our non-sports you played yourselves for this episode. I'll go first and then I'll get yours.
All right.
You know, this happened to me today. Not a very busy parking lot. I'm trying to pull out of my space. The person that backs into a parking space that has no reason to, you played yourself. Who do we fucking think we are here? That we need to reverse it like you're at a car show. Park in the fucking space, get it moving so I can get out of my space. It's one of those annoying things because you look in your rearview mirror and you see the car pass. You're about to pull out and then you see them stop just to back into a space. The worst. You played yourself goes to those of you backing into a parking space. If it's a pull through, all fair and game. But a small parking lot that isn't busy. Give me a break.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I do back into a parking space. It typically happens in a garage when it's a little more difficult.
Garage, yes. Fair game.
When you're in a parking lot, and especially if there are people around, I can't understand why you would stop the world so you can make your parking spot.
Same concept as like...
Keep it pushing, buddy.
If you're a pedestrian walking in front of a car, I don't need you to run, but I need you to make it look like you're trying to get to where you're going a little quicker. It's the same concept.
For sure. Yes.
What do you got, Rose?
All right. What I got, it's kind of going back to the this didn't age well part of You Played Yourself, where I threw myself under the bus, but You Played Yourself goes to Drake. Back when he was in the dissing war, I guess, or the diss track, swap with Kendrick Lamar, he had a quote on his song Family Matters, or a line, I guess, is like,
"Hey, Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go hand him a Grammy right now."
Only to find that Kendrick Lamar swept the fuck out of the Grammys.
He sure did.
Drake has 5 Grammys to his name. His debut album came out in June of 2010. And obviously it's a little unfair to compare like Grammy count, because Drake doesn't really make like Grammy music, I guess you could say. Kendrick Lamar won 5 Grammys off of the song Shitting on Drake. I just can't think of a bigger You Played Yourself than Drake this week. I know he's having a horrible time.
Yeah, Not Like Us won everything it was nominated for. It went 5 for 5. That's crazy.
Very nuts.
A diss track.
It's insane that he's on a generational run right now, and he's about to perform at the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Yeah. Also a great segue for later. Perfect.
Yeah.
But number one podcast listeners, let's move on to Am I Hatin'? It's a nice segue, Roche, to Am I Hatin'? A reminder, number one podcast listeners, hit us with the theme for this Am I Hatin' intro. We are still needing one. And also, if you have a submission for You Played Yourself or Am I Hatin', we are all ears. You know how to get a hold of me. If you don't, you're on this podcast, so you should be able to find it right in the episode description. Hit me up, send me an audio clip, send me a excerpt of what you want covered on either of those sections, and we will feature it. But Roach, your Am I Hatin', I think, connects to your You Played Yourself, so take it away with your Am I Hatin'.
All right, Am I Hatin'? Look, I'm a Drake fan. I did used to have a music website back in a different life, and I swear I posted Comeback Season as a Drake release when it dropped. I'm a long-time fan. I'm not like a casual fan, but and you'll attest to the website bit of it,
Shout out We Wore Masks, baby.
Shout out We Wore Masks.
Forever.
What it do, baby?
And this is a rare occasion. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let If You Know, You Know fly, because it's a special moment. But am I hating when I say that The Weeknd's discography is stronger than Drake's? I mean, I was thinking about it this week. Obviously, The Weeknd dropped a new album. It's really good.
Yeah.
Album for album, I had this conversation with one of my friends, and I was like, The Weeknd has a deeper and more impressive discography than Drake.
Wow.
There's far less filler.
Yeah.
I mean, he just dropped an hour and 22-minute album, and there's very little skips on it.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to play through. Drake has several albums of that length, and there's a lot of skips on those albums.
Yep.
Obviously, this isn't like considering the overall impact, like radio hits, number ones, or whatever intangibles you want to say. I know the OV hose will be out in full effect on this one, and it doesn't include features either, guys. But it's really something to think about. The Weeknd has like 6 albums and 3 mixtapes, and Drake has like 8 albums and like 6+ mixtapes. But if you pick the best 6 albums of Drake and the best 3 mixtapes, and then you compare them with The Weeknd's, I think you'll find that The Weeknd edges him out a little bit. So that's my Am I Hatin'? Just to pile on to Drake a little music take, get my We Were Mass brain going again.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
You're the music godfather for me, so you dropped that, and it had me thinking too, because like,
I want to hear like anyone out there who agrees, disagree. I mainly want to hear if people agree.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a hotter take to say The Weeknd's discography is better. So
definitely.
If you agree, shout us out.
Hell yeah, it's a hot take, but maybe it's just hot because Drake.
He's Goliath, man. Like, how do you go
Drake's
against
Goliath?
Goliath?
And he gets those reactions. Like, his fans are just so ride or die for him, so it gets those big controversial takes. Like, it offends them personally. So yeah. I was thinking about it, and I didn't hate the take, and I mean, I think Drake. I'm a Drake fan too. He has a ton of filler, and I feel the same way. So I'm sure Drake fans would never agree, but they'd probably never agree to anybody being better than him. So that's besides the point.
They still think he won. They still think he won the rap battle. So
yeah, exactly. We want to hear some people that are objective, that are maybe fans of both. What you think of the take? Chime in. Hit us up on our socials, the comments of the episode, wherever you want. I want to hear what you guys think of that one. My Am I Hatin' is, I've seen this a couple times when people say lead a comment or a response with genuinely curious as their opener, like, quote, genuinely curious.
Yeah.
It feels like the more civilized way to, I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like, you saying genuinely curious, like it's a cover for them not saying some smart ass comment or like rage bait. And it's always some comment that has to do with like politics or discriminating against someone that's like shouldn't be discriminated against. It's like someone trying to think they're playing devil's advocate, but using genuinely curious as if they're actually wondering. Their actual purpose is to make you mad in the comments and maybe drive some responses. So that's my Am I Hatin'. I don't think anybody's gonna, maybe people out there use it actually and they're curious, but just maybe think twice.
I think with the context of that phrase and how it's used in, like, I guess our day-to-day dialect, it's immediately patronizing.
Yeah.
You know someone's gonna say some like idiotic shit after that, or something that specifically targets something you said or something you do. Even if I've heard it like in a work contest where it's like, genuinely curious, why did you think to put A and B here? And you're like, well, fuck off. All right. I wanted to, that's why.
But you're genuinely curious, so you had to make a big point out of it. Fuck off. It is I'm not trying to be an asshole, but you're the worst person ever. It doesn't give you a free pass to say whatever the fuck you want. Have some sort of filter. Genuinely curious isn't your free pass. Okay, number one podcast listeners, it's time for Who You Got and What You Feeling. Last episode, Rosh, you and I were still on the eve of Super Bowl 59, and we were talking team snacks. We submitted our Mount Rushmore of snacks. Number one podcast listeners out there, a lot of you reached out on social medias. I featured anybody that responded to me what your team snacks Mount Rushmore is on for the big game. A lot of great answers. Not too many hot takes. I didn't find any of them too controversial. I did see quite a few people smartly include like some sort of dessert in their Mount Rushmore to make their Mount Rushmore well-rounded. I'm a salty snack guy, so I didn't go that route, but I respect the strategy there. In case you missed it, we both kind of agreed on our Mount Rushmore. Wings, nachos, soft pretzels were shoo-ins. I had a chips and dip. You were cool with the choice, but then you prompted a few others since chips and dip kind of the same category as nachos. We brought up honorable mentions of potato skins, J-Pops, jalapeno poppers. I didn't hear too many people chime in with those. I was a little disappointed about that, I will say. And then obviously pizza, that was a popular one. Yeah.
Did you hear any from anyone that you were like, we definitely left that off? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think so, honestly. The dessert one stood out to me. Some people had like specific ones. I did get some love. I mentioned, and obviously it was in the episode, my nostalgic love for pinwheels, and I thought it was going to be a deep cut, but I had some other people chime in and say they love them too, so that made me feel good. Yeah, I don't remember seeing too many like super controversial. It did seem like a lot of people are big buffalo chicken dip folks.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, that's a good one though.
Yeah, it is a good one. Now I really like buffalo chicken dip, but I got to be in the mood for it. Like, it doesn't always sound good to me, and that's why it wasn't on my list. Is full of things that always sound good to me.
But why have buffalo? See, my thing, I agree with you, and most of the time I'm not in the mood for buffalo chicken dip is because wings are on the table.
Hell yeah!
Why would I need a buffalo chicken dip when the literally the George Washington of Mount Rushmore is available.
yeah.
Shout out to Wings, tried and true.
Yep. Nice callback, by the way, George Washington. That's another. We don't condone this term, but if you know, you know.
We got historical reference.
I'm telling you how you can know. Just listen to our last episode. Don't play yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. This episode, since we are still on approaching Super Bowl 59, we clearly stated we're Team Snacks, but the other thing we stated is that we're Team Halftime Show. So I thought this episode would be a good opportunity for us to feature that on Who You Got. So I got a couple quick prop bets for you. I want to get your take. Take it to the bank, #1 podcast listeners. We'll deny that it didn't work if it didn't, but if we win you money, shout us out. Show us some love. Okay. I looked up some Super Bowl 59 prop bets regarding halftime.
Yeah.
First up, number of Kendrick Lamar songs. The over-under set at 10.5. Now, some context. Over the past 5 years, the number of halftime show songs has ranged from 9 in 2021 to 15 in 2020. So, #1 podcast listeners, that 9 was in 2021. Nice segue. We just talked about The Weeknd. That was when he did the halftime show. He did 9 songs. I could have swore it felt like more. And then Shakira and J-Lo were in 2020, and they did 15. Makes sense, multiple artists. So
yeah, 2 artists. Yeah.
Over under 10.5 Kendrick Lamar songs.
I'm taking the over on. Nah, hold on. I still think I'm taking the over on that. He has too many hits, and with rap songs, you have the opportunity to do like a chorus. You have. Just a chorus. You have the time to do like one verse. I think the discography is too deep at this point. He has too many songs to hit on. He has a relatively new album. He'll probably do like 2 songs off that alone.
Yeah.
And I think I'm taking like 12 songs.
Yeah. It's funny. I was going to be right around that area too.
Yeah.
I'm going over. It's already known that he's going to have SZA perform with him. That's not new news. Right. So I think that lends itself more to the over, because I just told you that Shakira J-Lo one, when it's multiple artists, usually lends itself to more songs. So his discography is nuts, so he's got a lot to cover in a short amount of time. Including, like you said, his new album has a lot of bops to it. Like,
right.
Some of his albums are like, oh, you wouldn't want to cover this in Halftime Show because it's not
you're
it's
gonna
not
probably
slam
hear
poetry
like,
vibes, we want the big hits. But, okay, Rush, my other one for the prop bets. Okay. There were a lot of different prop bets, but I wanted to focus on these 2. First song played is a big one that a lot of people talk about. What song do you think Kendrick opens with? Here are the top odds candidates. Humble is at plus 160.
Okay.
Not Like Us, plus 380. And King Kunta is plus 430. Obviously, there are other... He's got a huge catalog, so it can be anything beyond.
Yeah, I don't think any of those are going to be the first song.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and, I'll top it. I'm going to guess. I'm gonna say his first song is going to be Squabble Up.
Okay, I like that. A current one.
It has such a strong intro, and it's a way to get it all set up. He's not gonna do a song with SZA first. I'm sure that's on the list. I think Not Like Us is gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a headliner either. I don't think they're gonna close with that. It's too controversial topic. He's gonna throw it in the middle of the set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gonna end with one of his big bangers, Humble or something. I think he's gonna come out to Squabble Up. That's my guess.
All right, I like that. I'm
gonna put that on the record.
I'm gonna go deep cut. I could see it being Humble, but I'm gonna go. It's not really a deep cut, but I'm not picking something from Section 80 or something. But I'm gonna go with "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe."
Love it.
Like a little slow build, kind of.
Love it.
Yeah, and maybe kind of goes in order like that.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, that's my deep cut pick, and I'm sure you can get. Obviously, I cover the best 3 odds, so either one of our choices would make you even more money. So
yeah,
take it for what it is. If you can find odds on those, #1 podcast listeners, let us know if you listen to us and make some money.
Give me.
Okay.
I got one more adding onto that one.
Yeah.
Give me your probably number one guess for who else he would feature on this set. I feel like SZA is going to be one.
Yeah.
So we know that, but I feel like she's not going to be the only one because I don't think he wants to get like put in a box of having to perform their songs together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are a little slower anyway. I think the only one they'll probably do is All the Stars.
Yeah.
That's my guess. And maybe like Luther from the new one. But I don't see them playing more than one or two. So give me your guess on who he's going to feature.
The obvious ones would be like, Schoolboy Q,
Sure.
J-Rock, etc. His TD running mates for years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My guess is that he brings out Baby Keem, his cousin.
Love that.
Yeah. And I think it'd be like the songs they have together are so hype. I mean, I've seen them live, and they're so much fun to witness. I think it'd be like they could do probably like a
Family
fusion
ties.
of both of their songs.
Yeah.
And it would get the crowd hype. So I'm going Baby Keem. It feels kind of like cop out because that's an easy one, but
love that. I'm gonna go a little dark horse, and I'm gonna keep Petty energy.
Petty alert.
I think he's gonna bring Future out. Drake's boy. I think Future would be a really cool move. I love the TDE angle. I think there's too much like space to share, so I think he'll have them on stage with him to like share the moment with him. I don't know if they'll play a song, but I feel like it'll be more of like a romantic idea.
Yeah, he did that with his Amazon concert.
Right. And that's kind of where I stole that idea. That's not like a deep like guess, but I feel like they're just going to be there like celebrating with him. I think he's going to bring out Future and they'll do like that together.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people think we're thinking maybe he has Lil Wayne come out because of all the controversy, and Lil Wayne released something
that would be nuts.
saying he wasn't going to be there. So again, take this all with a grain of salt. I like both of our picks. They're not super obvious ones, but both would make a lot of sense for the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Rush, let's move on to what you feeling. I'll go first before I get yours. I feel like I've been talking about them for a while, but my younger son officially did turn 1.
Yes, sir.
Releasing this, we talked about their parties and all that stuff, but it was fun to get to celebrate little man. But what I'm feeling lately, we've already talked about him, but The Weeknd's new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, top to bottom, a great listen. I think you sent us this, but The Weeknd reportedly is ending his artist moniker The Weeknd, and his last track of this newest album flows right back into the first track of his very first project as The Weeknd from the trilogy. So I thought that was a cool little ode that start his entire discography again over the song's flow.
True internet nerd like Easter egg that someone else found and that I'm gonna take credit for.
Yeah. And I got to shout out my guys. He's a #1 podcast listener. He is also a rap artist. Goes by Phil Jackson. That's Jaxon. And my guy Haji each dropped new projects. So wanted to shout them out and
perfect.
Big up them and their fire projects too. Always love supporting my people, so wanted to shout them out. What about you, Rosh? What are you feeling lately?
I mean, so little time has passed between episodes. I didn't really have any time to kind of...
We still feeling the wedding, man.
Consider what I'm feeling. I'm still feeling the same stuff. Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm not feeling, though. I'm not feeling getting injured in my 30s again. I feel like this is clockwork. I play sports and I live in the glory days in my mind. I try to stay active, and I twisted my ankle yet again. Another high ankle sprain. This shit is for the birds. So I'm not feeling that, but everything's cool, man. Like, it's
not for lack of trying. I mean, you regularly hitting up yoga classes, staying in shape, all that stuff.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just father time, bro. Right there. Yeah.
Trying to, father time's undefeated unless you're the king.
Exactly. All right, #1 podcast listeners. You know how we like to end each episode. Let's hit that Too Much Sense. Okay, #1 podcast listeners. This Too Much Sense is centered around grace. I saw this, that grace is when you finally learn that a person's behavior has more to do with their own internal struggle than it ever did with you. That's when you learn grace. Easy to understand summary, because I think we use these terms and everybody always use like, oh, show yourself some grace, or give yourself some grace, but or give them some grace. And not everybody knows exactly what that means. Usually it just means have some care for them, but it is having that realization that behavior has more to do with them than what they're showing externally to you, and you might be feeling the brunt of it. But in terms of showing yourself grace, I think it's something that I'm trying to emphasize and learn, but I think is largely missing in our generation. I think we're our own worst critics. We have our devices at our hand, and that can lead to some negativity and comparing yourselves to one another. But I'm one of them. I'm my own worst critic, and we're able to give grace to others, but not ourselves. So it's practicing that same thing, that yes, we can apply grace to externally when you learn someone's behavior is their own. Well, there's a reason why you're acting the way you're acting, so giving yourself time and the ability to process that while not bringing yourself down can only help the process. So
love that.
That's my 2 much sense for this week. And
it's great.
On that note, number one podcast listeners, I'm going to give y'all grace if you haven't got Magic Mind yet, but don't forget to get yourself some. Go to magicmind.com/prem and enter the code PREM20. The link is in the bio. You already know where to get it. For up to 45% off. Don't play yourself. I'm show you grace for right now, and we'll get it right. But number one podcast listeners, I want to thank you for tuning in to a brand new episode, the number one podcast in your headphones. Rosh, I want to thank you for joining me, man.
Of course, always.
Yeah, we had to hop on to talk about our reactions to the most shocking trade in NBA history, but hopefully you number one podcast listeners enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoy the big game and team snacks and team halftime show.
Yes, sir. Yeah. You're welcome.
That's what we're here for, number one podcast listeners. We're here for you. So what you can do for us, and you already do times a million, is showing support to the podcast, sharing the episodes, telling people about it, making sure you subscribe, tell a friend, tell a family member to subscribe, comment, review, rate our podcast, all those things. We truly appreciate you, number one podcast listeners. That's why we do this.
It's a special week. You got to send it to a Mavs fan this week too. Yeah. I know I'm going to send it to all of them.
Yeah. Send it to them, show them some grace, but hopefully they can commiserate with us. We're here for them.
Yeah, we're on their side.
Yeah. So, number one podcast listeners, can't tell you how much I thank you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I've been your host, Premal Bhatt. That's been my co-host, Roshan Bhatt.
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Peace.